For decades, Poland has lived with the uneasy weight of geography. Wedged between East and West, it has seen invaders come and go, Germany from one side, Russia from the other. Yet in 2025, the question of whether Russia can overpower Poland is far more complex than the clichés of history. Anyone who assumes Moscow could roll over Warsaw like it did in centuries past is ignoring the hard facts of today's battlefield. Poland is not the same country it once was, and Russia is no longer the juggernaut it pretends to be. Poland's rise, from victim to vanguard. After the fall of communism in 1989, Poland transformed itself from a fragile post-Soviet state into one of NATO's frontline powerhouses. Its economy grew, its military modernized, and its people developed a deep mistrust of Moscow's ambitions. Today, Poland is more than just another European Union member, it's the shield of the West. In 2022, when Russia invaded Ukraine, Poland didn't hesitate. It became Ukraine's lifeline, sending weapons, taking in millions of refugees, and shouting the loudest in NATO meetings for a hard line against Putin. That role has only expanded. By 2025, Poland spends over 4% of its GDP on defense, the highest in NATO proportionally, even more than the United States. The country has ordered hundreds of M1A2 Abrams tanks from the US, K2 Black Panther tanks from South Korea, HIMARS rocket systems, F-35 stealth fighters, and advanced drones. This is not the Poland of World War II, poorly armed and politically divided. This is a Poland that has learned its lessons from centuries of invasion. Russia's diminishing strength. Now compare that to Russia. Yes, Russia still has nuclear weapons, but conventional warfare is where the real test lies. After 3 years of war in Ukraine, Russia's army is battered. Its most elite units are gone, its tanks destroyed in the thousands, and its economy is bleeding under sanctions. While Putin tries to project confidence, the reality is a struggling war machine that has been exposed on the global stage. The idea that Russia could just march into Warsaw and dictate terms is fantasy. Even before NATO steps in, Poland itself has the means to make any invasion a disaster. And NATO, that's a whole other story. NATO's Article 5, the Iron Wall. The biggest mistake analysts make when they talk about Russia versus Poland is pretending Poland is alone. It isn't. Poland is bound by NATO's Article 5, an attack on one is an attack on all. That means the United States, Britain, Germany, France, and dozens of other allies are legally obligated to respond militarily. Imagine Russia launching an attack on Poland. Within days, thousands of US troops would pour into the country, British fighter jets would scramble, and Germany's logistics machine would swing into motion. The Baltic states, already under threat from Russia, would open their airfields and radar systems to NATO operations. What begins as a fight with Poland would escalate into a war Moscow cannot possibly win. Geography favors Poland, not Moscow. Another overlooked factor is geography. Unlike Ukraine, Poland is a NATO member with secure supply lines to Western Europe. Russia cannot choke it off without striking NATO territory. And Poland itself has fortified its eastern borders, turning them into defensive walls bristling with anti-tank weapons, surveillance drones, and artillery. For Russia to even attempt an invasion, it would have to push through Belarus, a client state, but even then, it faces NATO's Suwalki Gap, the narrow land bridge connecting Poland to Lithuania. This stretch is heavily monitored and armed, making it a deadly trap for any invading force. Poland's people, united, determined, and battle-ready. Finally, there is the human factor. The Polish people are among the most anti-Russian populations in Europe. Decades of occupation, from the Tsars to the Soviets, have forged a deep cultural resistance to Moscow. Unlike Russia, where propaganda is needed to keep morale up, Poland's people do not need convincing. If war came, they would defend their homeland with the same ferocity Ukraine has shown, but with far greater resources behind them. So before anyone claims Russia can defeat Poland, they should pause. The Poland of 2025 is armed to the teeth, backed by NATO, and hardened by history. For Russia, trying to take it would be not only suicidal but a trigger for its own collapse. Let's go deeper into the scenario. What would happen if Russia, against all logic, attempted to challenge Poland directly? Russia's military problems. First, Russia's military is already overstretched. It has poured men and equipment into Ukraine, with losses so severe that it now relies on outdated Soviet tanks and poorly trained conscripts. Its logistics, the lifeline of any army, are a disaster. Supply convoys are constantly ambushed in Ukraine. Imagine the chaos of trying to push through Poland, a country armed with long-range precision weapons. Moreover, Russia's air force, once feared, has been humbled. Ukraine's use of air defense systems has kept Russia from controlling the skies. Against Poland's US-supplied Patriots and upcoming F-35 jets, Moscow's chances would be even worse. NATO's Thunderbolt response. If Russia attacked Poland, NATO's response would be swift and overwhelming. The United States alone has bases in Germany, Italy, the UK, and Poland itself. Within 72 hours, NATO could deploy tens of thousands of soldiers, dozens of fighter jets, and naval assets in the Baltic and Black Seas. And let's not forget the nuclear dimension. While Russia has its arsenal, NATO is not defenseless. Britain, France, and the US maintain nuclear deterrence. Any serious escalation risks mutual destruction, making the idea of Russia launching an all-out attack on Poland even more absurd. Poland is the new military hub. Far from being a weak point, Poland has become NATO's central hub for Eastern Europe. Massive logistics centers, ammunition stockpiles, and advanced training bases have been built in the country. US forces are permanently stationed there, along with missile defense systems. An attack on Poland is not just an attack on one nation, it's an attack on NATO's strongest fortress in the east. Russia's isolation and weakness. Beyond the battlefield, there's geopolitics. If Russia tried to attack Poland, it would not only face NATO but also global isolation. Countries that have stayed neutral, like India and Brazil, would likely turn away. China, Russia's so-called partner, would be wary of supporting a war that risks direct nuclear conflict with the West. Sanctions would tighten even further, choking Russia's already fragile economy. Inside Russia, the population's patience is already wearing thin. Protests have erupted over mobilization, and a war with NATO would push unrest into outright rebellion. Rather than conquering Poland, Moscow could find itself collapsing from within. Lessons from Ukraine. Ukraine has already shown us what happens when Russia underestimates its neighbor. Putin thought Kyiv would fall in 3 days. Instead, the war has dragged on for years, draining Russia's strength and exposing its vulnerabilities. Now imagine repeating that mistake with a country far stronger than Ukraine, backed by the world's most powerful military alliance. The outcome isn't hard to predict: disaster for Moscow. Poland's future role. Instead of fearing Russia, Poland is positioning itself as the new leader of Europe's defense. Germany hesitated, France negotiated, but Poland acted decisively. It has become the moral and strategic backbone of NATO in the East, and that position will only grow stronger. So the next time someone claims Russia could defeat Poland, remind them of these facts. Russia is weakened, isolated, and overextended. Poland is armed, determined, and shielded by NATO. Any attack on Poland would be the end of Russia's ambitions, not the beginning. History has changed. The days of Poland being partitioned or conquered are gone. Today, it stands as the wall Russia cannot break through.